Chapter 6. It's nice to have a partner in crime stopping. Piper's unexpected arrival was a nice surprise. It would have been even more pleasant if a hummingbird hadn't shown up first. Go the fuck away, I told the bird as I loaded my pistol. I will actually shoot you. I mean it. Piss off. I was fucking sick of hummingbirds by the third time one of them interrupted an op. Envoys of God avatars, yeah, whatever. One of them interrupts you when you're blowing up a cocaine kitchen, then you can talk. I got myself out in one piece and without inhaling any toxic smoke. My enemies weren't so lucky. I cussed out the bird while making sure the flames didn't spread. It just gave me a disapproving look and flew away. Didn't even help me contain the fallout. They stayed away while I smashed up the biker gang transporting the drugs. They didn't when I collapsed a warehouse full of the stuff. That one almost got me caught when one of the fuckers on guard duty noticed it. They showed up sporadically after that, never more than a gap of a week. Always right before almost getting me killed by engineering a snag in an op. I kept coming out on top. Didn't stop their presence from making things harder. Point being, I'd started to associate the feathery things with major annoyance. When I hadn't seen one for 2 weeks, I let my guard down. Big mistake. The shimmery green irritant bobbed in midair. I raised my gun an inch in its direction. The flying nuisance took the action as the threat it was and disappeared. Good riddance. A soft, feminine voice said from behind me, "You really should be more polite to them, you know. They're favored by a god of war. What if he got fed up and decided to smite you?" I wanted on the record that I did not shoot Piper, Peripheral, when she appeared in front of me. I may have screamed like a little girl and pointed my gun at her. I'll fess up to that, but I did not shoot her. She didn't look impressed. That was what helped me recognize her after 8 years. She never did look impressed with my pranks, not even when we were itty-bitty baby supers back in Oneida. Too quiet, that one. Power had too much of a hold. Shame. She looked good when she smiled. "Perry, what the shit? I could have shot you!" I half yelled at her as I lowered the gun. My own nerves were riding high from the raid I was minutes away from starting. Seeing a random woman pop out of the background had almost resulted in her gaining a new hole in her face. Her hands fluttered. She had long fingers, calloused palms. "Not the time. Listen, I need to talk to you. Please, Collateral." She held out her hands in a plea. "I'm asking on General's behalf, too." I got a good look at her, finally. Her eyes were sunken in and ringed by dark circles, and her skin was far too pale. The tips of her fingers were trembling, and her shoulders were slumped. The powder blue shirt she wore was wrinkled and dusty. She seemed washed out, almost, like her power was draining the color from her. Poor woman looked like a wreck, is what I'm saying. My heroic instincts might be, sketchy, but I'm not heartless. Plus, memories of sad and lonely new to Oneida Little Piper kept scratching at my hindbrain. At the same time, I distinctly remembered this woman having a small but tight crew by the time graduation rolled around. I was not included in the posse. There was something else going on with us. If she was coming to me for help, she really must have been up shit creek. Her expression brightened as I pulled out a business card and scribbled an address on it. I held it out for her to take. "Lock's a double cylinder. Theo looks scary, he's just stupid. Give him a biscuit and a scratch behind the ears. I encourage you to take a shower with whatever products you find. The fridge is free reign except for the pad thai. Spare blankets are in the hall closet and the couch is a pull-out. If I don't find you on it or on your way to it by the time I get back, I'll be very disappointed." She nodded once. Her eyes went shiny as she took the card. If she started crying, I'd have to hit her. "Thank you," she whispered. She read the address and tucked the card into her pocket. When she withdrew her fist, something else was in it. She reached for my hand and dropped the object in. I felt plastic. "A USB? Take this," she said, looking down and away, "in case I don't make it to your place." And wasn't that ominous? Odds of that? Low. Ebola with my face on it doesn't work so well when people can't register my existence. She smiled wryly and raised a finger to her lips. "If you could just turn around before I leave, that'd be swell." Naturally, I knew how her ability worked, just like how she knew about mine. Classmate privilege, you know? I put the drive in my pocket. "Out of all of us, you're the last one I'd expect to wind up running from the cops. And you were voted most likely to end up arrested. Shows what high school us knew." She ran a hand through her hair and winced when her fingers caught on the tangles. "I'm gonna go. I'll give you the full rundown when I wake up in, 16 hours or so. Thanks again." I turned my back to her. My sense of her presence vanished. I knew objectively that she was still there, but couldn't detect any sign of her. Such a cool ability. She was wasted in civilian life. Ooh, that was a thought. Wait, I said before she could leave. I didn't know if she'd stayed. Kept going anyway. Want to give me a hand with the sop? Nothing. Wouldn't be. Still, conversations and connections relied on a back and forth. Lack of response made people twitchy. Sure made me twitchy. Had to plow on. It's human traffickers, Perry. I know you hate 'em as much as I do. If you could keep any hostages safe while I deal with the bastards, I'd be grateful. A piece of paper materialized in front of my face and fluttered down. I snatched it. Do you have a shield and a map? A grin crept across my face. So dependable, so predictable, so easy to catch. What had I been worried about? Years of separation hadn't changed the periphery I knew. Not in any meaningful way. It was a wonder she'd been able to walk away the first time. Then again, it's easier to be selfish when the problems are out of sight. I held the paper out, pinched between two fingers. I've got a gator, knives, a grappling hook, and a diagram. Take it or leave it, I said. Then I dropped the note. It fell 6 inches before disappearing. Less than a minute later, a ball of paper bounced off my nose. I caught it and uncrumpled it. The new sentence filled me with giddy excitement. Show me what we're working with, partner. One brief briefing later, we were set. The grin on my face as I strolled up to the door would have sent a psychologist running if they'd seen it past the gaiter I'd donned. Perry was going around the back and through an upper window. I was the distraction. For now. I knocked on the door. Shave and a haircut. Classic. Pizza delivery, I called. No response. I tried again. Shave and a haircut. Nada. One more time. Shave and a haircut. 2 bits. Nothing. I rolled my shoulders. Suit yourselves, I said. Then I kicked the door in. I shot the floor twice before setting foot in the place. Don't give me that weird look. My pistol was full of rubber bullets. Those things are dangerous if you get hit with them directly from the barrel. Not much better than regular ammo. You need to skip the things off the ground. My power works best when my targets are still alive. Not necessarily in kicking, though. I was in a confined entryway. Stairs to the second floor on the right, doors to the front and left. 3 traffickers, all over-muscled and heavily tattooed. Goon number 1 screamed in pain as he went down. The rubber bullet had hit him hard. He'd be singing soprano for the rest of his life. I pistol-whipped goon number 2 and kicked both him and goon number 1 on the way past. Goon number 3 tried to shoot me, but his gun exploded in his hand. A spray of blood and bone painted the guy and the floor, and he curled around the missing hand. Rotten luck. You really have to be careful when loading your bullets. Misfires are no joke. Might want to slap a tourniquet on that, I said cheerfully as I body-checked him. He hit the deck, and my combat boot met his solar plexus. Then I was on my way. Left first. Small kitchen. Dirty dishes. One goon, headphones on, facing away. A rubber bullet between his shoulder blades had him colliding face first with the counter. The bloody smear left behind when he fell to the floor suggested a broken nose. He'd fallen on his side. He wouldn't choke. Out and forward. Living room. 4 goons. One of them was right underneath an old metal chandelier. Center. 2 others were getting off a couch older than me and leveling guns. Right. The third was sitting at a small desk in the corner. Left. I fired at the one at the desk and ducked back through the doorway. The chain connecting the chandelier to the ceiling promptly gave way. No getting back up from that kind of head trauma. A stray spark from the now disconnected wires caught the couch, which started to smolder. The 2 firing at me were distracted by the fire as soon as it caught. They tore off their shirts and beat at it. That didn't do much except set their shirts on fire. My bullet caught the last in the collarbone. Broke it. He'd be out of commission for a while. Up the stairs. Andale, andale! I shouted in case Perry had been slow on the draw. A landing and 3 doors, one above the kitchen and the other 2 above the living room. First door was locked. I kicked it in. Bedroom, decrepit. Body on the bed, face down. Male, tattooed and bearded. No pants. Pile of clothes by the foot of the bed. Alive but unconscious. Bleeding knife wound on his back. Room was otherwise empty. Second door was unlocked. As bad as the first room, maybe worse. No furniture, no windows. Bare except a bucket in the corner. It stank. Smoke was starting to fill the air. Third door was locked. I kicked it in and headed inside. I ran into a body I hadn't seen one step in. In the confusion, a knife came swinging at my throat. One of my knives. I put up my arm in a block. My forearm connected with my assailant's wrist. Perry! The gator I'd given her hid her expression. She stopped putting pressure on her arm. Nodded. 4 captives. 3 are out. Last one needed an assist. Then we heard you coming. I wasn't angry about the attack. Far from it. I let my arm drop. And you decided on a good offense. Not complaining. Come on, I hear creaking. I was familiar with this brand of ominous building noises. We didn't have a lot of time. We have to go now. Perry told the woman huddled on the floor. I left her to it and scanned the room. Bedroom. Clean. Fancy furnishings. Comfy-looking cover on the queen bed. My upper lip curled in disgust. The window was broken and had a metal grappling hook latched onto the sill. Perry's handiwork. Perry had convinced the woman to climb on her back. She wrapped her arms around Perry's neck in a stranglehold. Perry held her under the knees. The woman's right shin had a visible deformation of the bone, and a gash on her left shin was turning funny colors. I had to admire Perry's ability to get people to listen to her. It was a skill I definitely didn't possess. She turned to me. Want to go first? She asked. I holstered my pistol. I'll cover you. Hurry, the building's on fire. What? She yelled at me, but I was already clambering down the grappling hook's cable. As soon as my feet hit the ground, I was surrounded by a frightened woman and two girls. They were chattering in rapid-fire Spanish. I ignored them in favor of scanning the area for any traffickers I'd missed. Perry was a bit slower coming down the rope than I was. I blamed her burden stayed. They both made it down safely, and the woman was whisked into the arms of her fellow liberated captives. Perry came over to me. Situation? I hit 5 out of 8. Could be others outside the building. Fuck. Let's move. Perry took over victim herding duty. She got them moving across and down the street with a smooth mix of simple English and dubious Spanish. They huddled in front of her and clung to each other. I took lookout position. Flames bloomed behind us. A few human-shaped shadows escaped the blaze. A minute later, the whole structure collapsed. We were well away by the time a fire truck showed up. It came screaming around the corner, sirens blaring. A cop car followed in its wake. Head back and hand these ladies over, or station drop-off? Perry asked. Station. It's not far. Less chaos that way. I holstered my gun and tucked my shirt over it. Follow me. More whispered Spanglish. I glanced over my shoulder. Perry had been subsumed into the group and was once again carrying the woman who needed help. Good for her. We walked for about 5 minutes before the fire station came into view. Upon seeing it, the women grew more lively. Relief was a hell of a drug. I hung back while Perry sat her backpack on the steps. She gave one of the others some short instructions, waved goodbye, and came back. Mission accomplished? She asked. Mission accomplished. And much more easily than I'd expected. Come on, we both need showers. Queries, kudos, or concerns? Like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for listening.